Captain Lee Taemin walked through the bright halls of Kepler Research Station. He liked the morning shift. The station was quiet then. Only the soft hum of machines and the distant stars outside the windows broke the silence. He carried his coffee in one hand and his daily reports in the other. Kepler Station was humanity's newest outpost in deep space. It sat far from Earth, near the edge of the galaxy where few ships traveled. The station was big, with white corridors that stretched in all directions. 847 humans lived and worked there. They were scientists, engineers, security guards, and support staff. All of them had left Earth to help build humanity's future among the stars. Dr. Park So-jin was already in her lab when Lee arrived for his daily check. She looked up from her computer screen and smiled. Her dark hair was pulled back and her lab coat was covered in coffee stains. "Good morning, Captain," she said. "The exotic matter tests are going well. We might have a breakthrough soon." Lee nodded. "Any problems I should know about?" "Nothing serious. Kim Jae-ho had to fix a power coupling yesterday, but everything is working fine now." Kim Jae-ho was the station's chief engineer. He was young but very good at his job. He could fix anything that broke on the station. The other engineers looked up to him. Lee finished his rounds and went to the command center. The room was filled with screens showing ship movements, station systems, and communication channels. Everything looked normal. No ships were scheduled to arrive for another 3 weeks. The nearest human colony was 2 months away by the fastest ship. That afternoon, the alarm started ringing. "Captain to the command center." The voice echoed through the station speakers. Lee ran through the corridors, his boots making loud sounds on the metal floor. When he reached the command center, his staff was staring at the main screen. A fleet of ships had appeared from nowhere. They were dark and angular, nothing like human vessels. The ships moved in perfect formation like hunters surrounding their prey. "How many?" Lee asked. 43 ships, sir," replied Officer Na Jin-woo. "All of them are armed. They're not responding to our signals." Lee felt his stomach drop. Kepler Station had only basic defenses. They were researchers, not soldiers. The station's shields could stop small debris, but they were not built to fight warships. "Send a message to Earth," Lee ordered. "Tell them we have unknown ships approaching." Before anyone could respond, a new voice filled the command center. It was deep and harsh, speaking in broken human language. "Human Station, this is Admiral Kethvar of the Vorthak Empire. You will surrender all research data. You will submit to Vorthak rule. You have 10 minutes to comply." The humans looked at each other in confusion. They had heard of the Vorthak Empire. They were one of the older alien races known for being warlike and cruel. But the Vorthak had never bothered with humans before. Humanity was too small, too far away to matter. "Sir," whispered Na Jin-woo, "what do we do?" Lee thought about the people on the station. Scientists like Dr. Park, who had spent years working on their projects. Engineers like Kim Jae-ho, who kept everything running. Cooks, cleaners, teachers for the few children on board. None of them were soldiers. But Lee remembered his training. He had served in Earth's defense forces before coming to Kepler Station. He knew that some things were worth fighting for. "Open a channel," Lee said. The screen flickered, showing the bridge of the Vorthak flagship. Admiral Kethvar was massive, with gray skin covered in scars and 4 arms that ended in sharp claws. His yellow eyes glowed with malice. "I am Captain Lee Taemin of Kepler Research Station," Lee said, trying to keep his voice steady. "This is a civilian research facility. We are not part of any military force. Please state your intentions." Kethvar's mouth opened, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Intentions are clear, human. Surrender or die. Your species will serve the Vorthak Empire. Your research will belong to us. You have 8 minutes." "This station is under the protection of Earth's government," Lee replied. "Any attack on us would be an act of war." The alien admiral laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Earth is weak. Humans are weak. No one will come to help you. 7 minutes." Lee cut the transmission. He looked around the command center at his people. They were scared, but they trusted him to make the right choice. "Evacuate all non-essential personnel to the intersections," Lee ordered. "Seal the blast doors. Send an emergency signal to Earth. Kim Jae-ho's voice came over the communication system from the engineering section. "Captain, I'm trying to boost the transmission power. If I can get through to Earth." "Do it," Lee said. "But be careful down there." Dr. Park So-jin arrived at the command center, breathing hard from running. "Captain, my research team is asking what they should do. Should we destroy our work to keep it from the aliens?" Lee thought about this. The research on Kepler Station could help humanity travel faster between stars. It could change everything for his species. But if the Vorthak took it, they might use it to hurt other peaceful races. "Yes," Lee said. "Destroy everything that could be dangerous in the wrong hands, but save what you can." The next few minutes passed like hours. The station's crew worked frantically to prepare for the worst. Some tried to hide important data. Others helped move people to safer areas. The security team, only 12 people total, prepared their weapons. They knew they could not win against a fleet, but they would try. When the 10 minutes were up, the Vorthak ships opened fire. The first blast hit the station's outer ring. The explosion shook everything and the lights went out for a moment. When they came back on, red emergency lights were flashing everywhere. "Damage report," Lee shouted. "Outer ring sections 12 through 18 are gone," came the reply. 200 people were in those sections. Lee felt sick. 200 people, scientists, engineers, support staff, people with families back on Earth, people with dreams and hopes for the future. Gone in an instant. The second blast hit the station's docking bay. Ships that could have been used to escape were destroyed. The Vorthak were making sure no one could leave. Kim Jae-ho's voice crackled over the speakers. "Captain, I got a message through to Earth. I told them what's happening." "Good work, Kim. Now get to the intersections." "No, sir. I need to keep the power running as long as possible. If the systems fail, everyone dies faster." Before Lee could respond, another explosion rocked the station. This time, the blast was closer to the command center. Pieces of the ceiling fell down and one of the control panels caught fire. On the main screen, they could see Vorthak ships moving closer to the station. Small fighter craft were heading toward the docking ports. The aliens were preparing to board. "All security teams, prepare to repel boarders," Lee announced. But he knew it was hopeless. 12 humans with light weapons against hundreds of alien soldiers. Dr. Park grabbed his arm. "Captain, there might be another way. If we can overload the exotic matter containment, we could take some of their ships with us." Lee looked at her. She was suggesting they destroy the station and everyone on it to hurt the enemy. It would be a brave choice, but it would also mean the end of every human on Kepler Station. "How long would that take?" he asked. 5 minutes, maybe 10. The sound of metal being cut came from the corridor outside the command center. The aliens were breaking through the blast doors. Lee made his decision. "Do it, and send one final message to Earth. Tell them the Vorthak Empire killed civilians. Tell them we fought to the end." As Dr. Park ran to her lab, Lee picked up his weapon. The other officers did the same. They formed a line facing the door, ready to make their last stand. The door exploded inward, and the Vorthak soldiers poured through. The battle was short and one-sided. The humans fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. One by one, they fell. Lee was the last one standing when Admiral Kethvar entered the command center. The alien looked around at the destruction and smiled his terrible smile. "Where is the research data?" Kethvar demanded. Lee, bleeding from several wounds, managed to laugh. "Gone. Destroyed. You get nothing." Kethavar's claws flashed, and Lee Taemin fell silent forever. But in her lab, Dr. Park So-jin had succeeded in one thing. The exotic matter containment was overloading. In 3 minutes, it would explode and take half the Vorthak fleet with it. Unfortunately, she never got to see it happen. Vorthak soldiers found her and Kim Jae-ho in the engineering section. They were killed along with everyone else who had tried to resist. The explosion that followed destroyed part of the station and damaged several Vorthak ships. But it was not enough to stop them. Admiral Kethvar ordered his forces to record everything. The galaxy would see what happened to those who defied the Vorthak Empire. The videos would be broadcast to every civilized world as a warning. When it was over, no humans remained alive on Kepler Station. 847 people, dead because they would not surrender their freedom and their work to alien masters. The news traveled fast through galactic communication networks. The Galactic Mediation Council called emergency sessions. Alien diplomats prepared their speeches about the need for peace and compromise. They expected humanity to do what every other species had done when faced with Vorthak aggression. They expected humans to ask for mediation, to offer tribute, to accept whatever terms would prevent more bloodshed. They were about to learn, though. Admiral Han Bo-young stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface. The message from Kepler Station played on the main screen for the 5th time. Kim Jae-ho's desperate voice echoed through the room. "They're slaughtering everyone. They won't accept surrender. Send help." The room was full of Earth's military leaders, generals, admirals, intelligence chiefs. All of them had the same look on their faces. Cold anger. "How long ago did this happen?" Han asked. 18 hours, sir," replied Colonel Yoon Min-ho. "The signal took that long to reach us." Han nodded. 18 hours. Everyone on Kepler Station was already dead. There was no rescue mission to plan, no hostages to save, only justice to deliver. "What do we know about this Vorthak Empire?" Han asked. General Choi Da-hai stepped forward. She had been studying alien military forces for 20 years. They control 47 star systems. Population around 12 billion. They've conquered 15 other species in the past 2 centuries. Their military doctrine focuses on terror and overwhelming force. How do other species usually respond to Vorthak aggression? They surrender, sir. The Vorthak demand tribute, territory, or slaves. The victim species agrees to prevent more deaths. The Galactic Mediation Council helps arrange the terms. Han walked to the large star map on the wall. Red dots marked Vorthak territory. Blue dots showed human colonies. There were so few blue dots compared to the red ones. "And the galaxy accepts this?" Han asked. "Yes, sir. They call it maintaining stability. The idea is that some sacrifice prevents greater wars." Han stared at the map for a long moment. Then he turned to face his officers. "Gentlemen and ladies, let me be very clear about something. We do not negotiate with murderers. We do not pay tribute to killers. We do not sacrifice our people for stability." The room was silent. Everyone knew what the Admiral was suggesting. War against an empire that could destroy humanity. "Sir," said General Park Hyun-suk carefully, "the Vorthak have a much larger military than us. If we attack them, they might destroy Earth itself." Han smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "General, for the past 50 years, we've been preparing for exactly this situation. Every alien species we've met, we've studied their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses. We've learned from every war we've observed. The galaxy thinks we're peaceful traders and researchers. They have no idea what we've really been building." Director Yoon Min-ho opened a classified file on his tablet. "Operation Ghost Fleet is ready for activation. We have ships and weapons the galaxy has never seen. Our forces have been training in secret bases throughout human space." "What about the Galactic Council?" asked General Choi. "They'll try to force mediation." Han turned back to the star map. "Let them try. But they need to understand something about humans. We don't make deals with species that murder our civilians." On the other side of the galaxy, Ambassador Na Yoon-ji sat in her office at the Galactic Council headquarters. Her communication system was flashing constantly. Every alien diplomat in the building wanted to talk to her. The first call came from Councillor Thexani of the Zilani Federation. The Zilani looked like tall, blue-skinned humans with large eyes. They were known for being peaceful and wise. "Ambassador Na," Thexani said, "I am so sorry about what happened to your people. The Zilani Federation offers its condolences." "Thank you, Counselor," Na replied. "The Mediation Council is prepared to arrange talks with the Vorthak. We can negotiate compensation for the lives lost, perhaps some territory or trade rights. The important thing is to prevent more violence." Na was quiet for a moment. "Counselor, may I ask you something?" "Of course. If Vorthak ships attacked a Zilani research station and murdered 1,000 of your people, what would you want your government to do?" Thexani shifted uncomfortably. I would want justice. But sometimes we must accept less than perfect justice to prevent greater suffering." "I see," Na said. "Thank you for your advice." After ending the call, Na looked out her window at the busy Galactic Council plaza. Ships from dozens of species came and went. Traders, diplomats, tourists, all of them living in a galaxy where murder could be forgiven if it was inconvenient to seek justice. The next call came from High Chancellor Veltar, the Council's most senior leader. Veltar was from an ancient species called the Helians. They had been mediating galactic conflicts for thousands of years. Ambassador Na, Veltar said in his deep, slow voice, we must act quickly to prevent this situation from escalating. The Vorthak are willing to negotiate. They're prepared to offer significant compensation for the regrettable incident at Kepler Station. Regrettable incident? Nye repeated. Yes. While the loss of life is tragic, we must focus on preventing future conflicts. The Vorthak propose a trade agreement that would benefit humanity greatly. They're also willing to discuss a formal apology. Na felt her anger rising. Chancellor, they murdered 847 civilians. They destroyed a research station. And you call it a regrettable incident? Ambassador, I understand your emotions. But you must think of the greater good. If humanity refuses to negotiate, the Vorthak might attack other human colonies. How many more will die then? That sounds like a threat, Chancellor. Not a threat. A warning. The galaxy has learned that sometimes we must accept imperfect solutions to prevent perfect disasters. Na ended the call without saying goodbye. Her assistant, a young human named Lee Subin, came into the office. Ma'am, I have 17 more requests for meetings. Everyone wants to know what Earth's response will be. They'll find out soon enough, Na said. On Earth, Admiral Han was meeting with his Special Operations Commander, General Ryu Inha. Ryu ran Earth's most secret military program. For decades, human agents had been placed throughout the galaxy, posing as traders, researchers, and diplomats. They studied alien weaknesses and reported back to Earth. How many assets do we have in Vorthak space? Han asked. 230 active agents, Ryu replied. They've been in place for an average of 8 years. The Vorthak don't suspect them. What can they do? Ryu smiled. Communications, power systems, supply lines, weapons depots. If you give the word, we can cripple their infrastructure within hours. And their military capabilities? Strong ships, but they depend on terror more than skill. They've never fought an enemy that refused to surrender. Their tactics haven't changed in centuries. Han nodded. Begin Phase 1. I want their communication networks disrupted and their supply lines cut, but nothing that can be traced back to us yet. Yes, sir. Captain Oh Seung-woo received his orders at the secret military base on Titan, one of Saturn's moons. The base was hidden inside what appeared to be a mining operation. In reality, it housed humanity's most advanced warships. Oh looked at his fleet, 30 ships that used technology borrowed from a dozen alien species but improved with human engineering. The ships looked like nothing else in the galaxy. They were designed for speed, stealth, and hitting hard before disappearing. All captains, this is Admiral Han, came the voice over the communication system. You are to proceed to the staging area near Vorthak space. Rules of engagement are simple. Any Vorthak military vessel is a legitimate target. Show no mercy to those who showed none to our people. Oh felt his heart beating faster. After years of training and preparation, they were finally going to war. Lieutenant Colonel Park Hyun-suk led the Psychological Warfare Division. His job was to make the enemy afraid. He had studied Vorthak psychology and knew exactly how to break their morale. Prepare the first broadcast, Park ordered his team. I want the galaxy to see who the Vorthak really are. The broadcast showed footage from Kepler Station. Not the sanitized version the Vorthak had released, but the real recordings from the station's security cameras. It showed Vorthak soldiers killing unarmed humans, scientists begging for their lives, children hiding in storage rooms. The broadcast ended with a simple message in dozens of languages. The Vorthak Empire murdered 847 innocent humans. Justice will be delivered. Back on the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Na watched the alien diplomats' reactions to the broadcast. Some were horrified by the footage. Others looked uncomfortable, as if they didn't want to see the truth about their stable galaxy. Counselor Thexani called her again. Ambassador, this broadcast is very inflammatory. It could make negotiations more difficult. Good, Na replied. There will be no negotiations, but that's not how these things are handled. You must be reasonable. Counselor, let me explain something about humans. When someone murders our children, our elderly, our innocent civilians, we don't negotiate. We don't compromise. We deliver justice. Justice? You mean revenge? Na was quiet for a moment. No, Counselor. Revenge is personal and emotional. Justice is universal and rational. The Vorthak committed crimes against innocent people. They will be held accountable for those crimes. But the cost. If you start a war, millions could die. Yes, Na agreed. And every one of those deaths will be the responsibility of the Vorthak Empire. They chose war when they murdered our people. High Chancellor Veltar called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall. The topic was simple: how to prevent a war between humans and the Vorthak. The situation is unprecedented, Veltar announced. Captain Oh Seung-woo stood on the bridge of his ship, the Vengeance. Through the viewscreen, he could see the Vorthak border fortress of Gexmoor Prime. It was huge, with dark metal walls covered in weapon turrets. 20 Vorthak warships patrolled around it like guard dogs. All ships. Report status, Oh said into his headset. Tiger, squadron ready, came the reply from Commander Shin. Yuri, Wolfpack standing by, reported Captain Kim. Min Jae. Ghost Division in position, whispered Captain No Mi-young from her stealth ship. Oh smiled. The Vorthak had no idea what was coming. Their sensors showed empty space. They couldn't detect human ships using advanced stealth technology stolen from the Zilani, and improved with human engineering. Remember the plan, Oh said. We hit fast, we hit hard, and we disappear before they know what happened. No mercy for murderers. The attack began at exactly 0300 Galactic Standard Time. The Vengeance and her sister ships dropped out of stealth mode directly above the fortress. Their weapons fired at the same instant, sending streams of energy into the Vorthak defensive grid. The fortress shields flickered and failed. Explosions bloomed across its surface as human weapons found their targets. But Oh wasn't interested in the fortress itself. His real targets were the patrol ships. Tiger Squadron, take the destroyers on the left. Wolfpack, hit the cruisers on the right. Ghost Division, you have the command ship. Commander Shin Yuri led her fighter squadron in a diving attack on the Vorthak destroyers. Her pilots had trained for this moment for years. They knew every weakness in Vorthak ship design, every blind spot in their sensors. The human fighters moved like a school of fish, turning and diving in perfect coordination. Vorthak gunners tried to track them, but the humans were too fast, too unpredictable. Target locked, Shin said as she lined up her shot on a Vorthak destroyer. For Kepler Station. Her missiles struck the enemy ship's engine section. The destroyer exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Captain Kim Min-jae approached his targets more carefully. The Vorthak cruisers were bigger and more dangerous than the destroyers, but they were also slower and less maneuverable. Wolfpack, form up on me, Kim ordered. Attack pattern Delta. Hit their weapon systems first. The human ships attacked in a coordinated pattern, each one targeting a specific part of the enemy vessels. Weapon turrets exploded. Shield generators failed. Within minutes, the mighty Vorthak cruisers were floating helplessly in space. But the most dramatic attack came from Captain No Mi-young and her Ghost Division. Their ships remained invisible as they approached the Vorthak command vessel. The enemy had no idea death was coming until it was too late. No's ship materialized directly above the command bridge. At point-blank range, her weapons tore through the Vorthak ship's armor like paper. The enemy commander never had time to send a distress signal. The entire battle lasted 12 minutes. When it was over, 20 Vorthak warships were destroyed or disabled. The fortress was in ruins, and the human ships had already disappeared back into stealth mode. Admiral Kethvar received the news on his flagship deep in Vorthak space. His forearms shook with rage as he watched the footage from Gexmoor Prime. How is this possible? He roared at his officers. Humans are weak. They have no military. Sir, his intelligence officer said nervously, it appears we were wrong about human capabilities. These ships use technology we've never seen before. Find them, Kethvar screamed. Send every ship we have. I want these humans hunted down and destroyed. But the humans were already gone. They had struck and vanished like ghosts. The only trace they left behind was a message broadcast on all Vorthak communication channels. The message showed Lieutenant Colonel Park Hyun-suk sitting at a simple desk. Behind him was the human flag and images from Kepler Station. People of the Vorthak Empire, Park said in perfect Vorthak language, your leaders have committed murder. They destroyed a peaceful research station and killed 847 innocent humans. Today justice began. The broadcast showed footage from the attack on Gexmoor Prime. Vorthak ships exploding, the fortress burning, bodies floating in space. This is what happens to murderers, Park continued. Your military cannot protect you from justice. Your ships cannot hide from vengeance. Every Vorthak soldier who participated in the massacre at Kepler Station will be found and punished. The message ended with a list of names. Every Vorthak officer who had been at Kepler Station, every soldier who had killed unarmed humans, all of them were now marked for death. The broadcast terrified ordinary Vorthak citizens. For the first time in their history, someone was hunting them instead of running away. Someone was making them pay for their crimes. Dr. Lim Hai-wan worked in a secret laboratory on Mars. She was a xenobiologist and expert on alien life forms. For the past week, she had been working on something terrible and necessary. How's the project coming? Asked her assistant, Dr. Young Hyojin. Almost finished, Lim replied, not looking up from her microscope. The Vorthak immune system has a specific weakness. Their DNA contains a sequence that doesn't exist in any other species. We can target that. Young looked uncomfortable. Doctor, are you sure about this? Biological weapons are banned by galactic law, Lim finished. But the Vorthak broke that law when they murdered our people. Now they'll face the consequences. The weapon Lim was creating was designed to be subtle. It would spread slowly through Vorthak populations, causing illness but not immediate death. The real purpose was psychological. It would show the Vorthak that humans could reach them anywhere, even in their homes. General Ryu Inha received reports from her agents throughout Vorthak space. The news was good. Human operatives had successfully sabotaged 12 major supply depots. Communication networks were failing across 3 star systems. Vorthak military commanders were finding it harder and harder to coordinate their forces. Agent White Tiger reports successful completion of Operation Silent Thunder, her aide reported. The Vorthak Third Fleet is stranded without fuel. Excellent, Ryu said. What about Agent Stormwolf? He successfully infiltrated the Vorthak Command Center on Vorthak Prime. He has access to their military communications. Ryu smiled. For 20 years, human agents had slowly worked their way into positions throughout Vorthak society. The aliens thought they were trusted allies or harmless civilians. They had no idea they were surrounded by enemies. Captain Oh Seung-woo planned his next attack from a hidden base in an asteroid field. His ships had hit 6 more Vorthak outposts in the past week. Each attack was perfectly planned and executed. The humans would appear from nowhere, destroy their targets, and vanish again. Sir, reported Commander Shin Yuri, Vorthak forces are starting to change their patrol patterns. They're keeping their ships closer together. Good, Oh replied. Fear is making them predictable. When they cluster their ships for protection, they make better targets. The next attack came at the Vorthak supply station at Kethmore Junction. This time, the humans used a different tactic. Instead of a quick strike, they laid siege to the station. Captain Nomi Young's invisible ships surrounded the station, cutting off all escape routes. Meanwhile, O's main force attacked from multiple directions, keeping the defenders off balance. But the most effective part of the attack was the psychological warfare. Human ships broadcast the voices of dead Kepler Station personnel throughout the battle. This is Dr. Park So-jin, came the recorded voice. We were conducting peaceful research when the Vorthak murdered us. Kim Jae-ho here. We offered no resistance, but they killed us anyway. Captain Lee Tae-min speaking. The Vorthak Empire showed no mercy to innocents. They deserve none in return. The voices of the dead haunted the Vorthak defenders. Many of them threw down their weapons and tried to surrender. But the humans had made their position clear. There would be no prisoners among those who had participated in genocide. When the battle was over, the supply station was completely destroyed. Its weapons and supplies would never reach Vorthak military units. And the survivors carried a message back to their commanders. The humans fought like demons possessed. General Choi Da-hai coordinated the liberation of Sector 4, a world the Vorthak had conquered 50 years earlier. The native Sectari were a peaceful, plant-like species that had never learned to fight. The Vorthak had enslaved them and used them for forced labor. The human liberation force was smaller than a typical Vorthak garrison, but they had several advantages. They knew exactly where every Vorthak installation was located, thanks to intelligence gathered over many years. They understood Vorthak military doctrine better than the Vorthak themselves, and they were fighting for justice, not conquest. The battle for Sector 4 lasted 3 days. Human forces used guerrilla tactics, striking at Vorthak positions and then disappearing into the planet's thick forests. The Vorthak, used to fighting conventional battles against organized armies, didn't know how to respond to this new kind of warfare. When the last Vorthak stronghold fell, General Choi addressed the freed Sectari people. She spoke through a translator, her words gentle but firm. "You are free," she said. "The humans offer you membership in our coalition against the Vorthak Empire. We ask nothing in return except that you remember who freed you when the galaxy chooses sides." Fleet Admiral Kwon Sung-ho stood on the bridge of the Justice, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. Through the view screen, he could see the Vorthak homeworld of Vorthak Prime. The planet looked peaceful from space, with blue oceans and white clouds. It was hard to believe that this beautiful world was the center of a genocidal empire. "Fleet status report," Kwon ordered. "All ships ready, sir," replied Captain Song Dabin. 200 vessels in attack formation. Fighter squadrons prepped for launch. Ground forces ready for planetary assault. Kwon nodded. 6 months of war had led to this moment. The Vorthak Empire was broken, its fleet scattered, its colonies liberated. Only the homeworld remained, defended by the last functional units of their once mighty military. "Admiral," came a transmission from the planet's surface. "This is Vorthak High Command. We wish to discuss terms of surrender." "There are no terms," Kwon replied. "Unconditional surrender. All war criminals will be turned over for trial. All military forces will be disbanded. The Vorthak Empire will cease to exist. That's impossible. Our people would never accept such humiliation." Kwon's expression didn't change. "Then they will share the fate of those who refuse justice." But the conversation was interrupted by an urgent signal from the planet's surface. The message came from the Vorthak civilian population, not their military. "Human fleet, this is the Vorthak Civilian Council. We speak for the ordinary people of our world. We renounce our government and its crimes. We ask for mercy." Admiral Kwon was quiet for a moment. This was unexpected. Intelligence reports had suggested the Vorthak population supported their military's actions. Apparently, months of war had changed their minds. "Civilian Council, this is Admiral Kwon. If your people truly renounce the crimes of your empire, you will help us identify and capture all war criminals. You will cooperate fully with the justice process. Do you agree to these terms?" "Yes, we agree. Please just stop the killing." But before Kwon could respond, another transmission came from the planet. This one was from the Vorthak Military Command. "Human ships, this is General Rexon. The Civilian Council does not speak for the Vorthak people. We will fight to the death before surrendering to inferior species." Kwon realized the planet was in the middle of a civil war. The civilians wanted peace, but the military was prepared to fight on. This complicated everything. "All ships hold position," Kwon ordered. "Launch reconnaissance drones. I want to know what's happening down there." The drones revealed a chaotic situation. Vorthak civilians were fighting their own military in the streets of major cities. Government buildings were burning. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was tearing itself apart. Captain Nomi Young monitored the situation from her stealth ship in orbit. Her sensors showed massive explosions in the capital city. "Sir, the Vorthak military is using heavy weapons against their own people. Civilian casualties are mounting." Kwon faced a difficult choice. He could wait for the civil war to end and then deal with whoever won, or he could intervene to protect the civilians who had asked for mercy. "General Ryu Inha, prepare for planetary assault. Target military installations only. Avoid civilian areas." "Sir, that will be extremely difficult. The Vorthak military is mixed in with the civilian population. Then we do it the hard way. Human soldiers will go in on foot. We'll take the planet building by building if we have to." The assault on Vorthak Prime began at dawn. Human dropships descended through the planet's atmosphere, carrying elite soldiers trained for urban combat. Their mission was unlike any in galactic history: invade a hostile world while protecting the people they were fighting against. Captain Lee Hyojin led the first wave into the capital city. Her soldiers moved carefully through the streets, engaging Vorthak military units while avoiding harm to civilians. It was slow, dangerous work. "Contact front," reported Sergeant Park Tae-sung. "Vorthak soldiers have taken hostages in the government building." Lee approached the building carefully. Through her scope, she could see Vorthak soldiers holding alien prisoners at gunpoint. These were likely slaves or diplomatic hostages. "Sniper teams, take position. I want clean shots on all hostile targets. No civilian casualties." The operation took 3 hours to plan and 30 seconds to execute. Human marksmen fired simultaneously, taking down every Vorthak soldier without harming a single hostage. The freed prisoners were a mix of species from across the galaxy. They had been held by the Vorthak for years, used as bargaining chips or objects of torture. "Thank you," whispered a Zilani diplomat who could barely stand. "We thought no one would ever come for us." "Everyone deserves justice," Lee replied simply. Similar scenes played out across the planet as human forces methodically dismantled the remaining Vorthak military. But the most important moment came when Admiral Kethvar was finally cornered in his command bunker. General Ryu Inha led the team that breached the bunker's defenses. They found Kethvar surrounded by his remaining officers, all of them prepared to fight to the death. "Admiral Kethvar," Ryu announced, "you are under arrest for war crimes, including the murder of 847 humans at Kepler Station." Kethvar laughed his horrible laugh. "You cannot judge us inferior species."
"We are Vorthak!"
"We have ruled this galaxy for centuries." "Not anymore," Ryu replied calmly. The final battle was brief but intense. Kethvar and his officers fought with desperate fury, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. When the smoke cleared, most of the Vorthak officers were dead, but Kethvar himself was captured alive. "Why didn't you just kill me?" he asked as human soldiers placed restraints on his forearms. "Because," Ryu explained, "justice requires a trial. The galaxy needs to see that we're not like you. We don't murder prisoners." The news of Kethvar's capture spread throughout the galaxy within hours. The architect of the Kepler Station massacre was finally in human custody. But instead of executing him immediately, as many expected, the humans announced something unprecedented: a formal trial. Judge Advocate Yoon Soo-bin was chosen to oversee the proceedings. She had been a criminal lawyer on Earth before joining the military. Now she faced the challenge of conducting the galaxy's first war crimes tribunal. "The trial will be broadcast to every world in the galaxy," Yoon announced. "We want everyone to see how justice works. We want them to understand the difference between law and vengeance." The trial was held on a neutral space station, with representatives from dozens of species serving as observers. Defense Counsel Park Jun-ho was assigned to represent Kethvar, despite the Admiral's protests that he needed no defense. "Everyone deserves legal representation," Park explained to the media. "Even monsters. That's what separates civilization from barbarism." The prosecution's case was overwhelming. Video evidence from Kepler Station showed Vorthak soldiers murdering unarmed civilians. Testimony from survivors described the systematic torture and execution of prisoners. Documents captured from Vorthak archives proved that the massacre was ordered from the highest levels. But Park Jun-ho did his job professionally, challenging evidence where appropriate and ensuring that proper legal procedures were followed. He knew his client was guilty, but he also knew that a fair trial required vigorous defense. The most dramatic moment came when Admiral Kethvar took the stand in his own defense. He showed no remorse for his actions. "Humans are weak," he declared. "All species except the Vorthak are weak. The strong have the right to rule the weak. This is natural law." "So you admit to ordering the murder of unarmed civilians?" asked Prosecutor Kim Soo-young. "I admit to nothing. I eliminated threats to Vorthak security. If humans choose to place their offspring and elderly in military installations, that is their choice. Kepler Station was a research facility, not a military base, and all human facilities are military bases. Your entire species exists to serve the Vorthak Empire." The gallery erupted in angry voices from dozens of species. Many had suffered under Vorthak rule, and hearing their oppressors' unrepentant attitude was infuriating. Judge Yoon called for order. "The defendant will restrict his comments to answering questions. This is a court of law, not a propaganda platform." The trial lasted 3 weeks. Every day more evidence was presented of Vorthak crimes across the galaxy. Not just the Kepler Station massacre, but centuries of genocide, slavery, and torture. When it ended, the verdict was inevitable. Admiral Kethvar was found guilty on all charges. The sentence was death by execution, to be carried out according to human legal traditions. "Do you have any final words?" Judge Yoon asked. Kethvar looked directly into the camera broadcasting to the galaxy. "This changes nothing. There will always be strong species and weak species. The weak exist to serve the strong. That is the natural order." "The natural order," Judge Yoon replied, "is justice. And today, justice is served." The execution was carried out the next day. For the first time in galactic history, a high-ranking military leader was held accountable for war crimes through legal process rather than political compromise. But the trial's impact went far beyond one criminal's death. Species across the galaxy had watched every moment of the proceedings. They had seen how humans conducted themselves even when dealing with their worst enemies. "This is how civilized beings behave," commented Elder Trixon of the liberated Mordri people. High Chancellor Veltar paced around his private office on the Galactic Council station. Outside his windows, he could see ships from dozens of species coming and going. But the normal busy atmosphere felt different now. There was tension in the air. Fear. The war between humans and the Vorthak Empire had been going on for 2 months. In that time, the humans had destroyed over 300 Vorthak ships and liberated 23 worlds. The mighty Vorthak Empire was crumbling and the rest of the galaxy was watching in shock. "Sir," said his aide, a nervous young Helian named Kextar, "Ambassador Na is here for the emergency meeting." "Send her in," Veltar said with a sigh. Ambassador Na Yunji entered the office, looking calm and professional. She wore a simple human business suit and carried a small briefcase. Nothing about her appearance suggested that she represented a species currently tearing apart one of the galaxy's oldest empires. "Ambassador," Veltar began, "we need to talk about ending this war. The war will end when the Vorthak Empire surrenders unconditionally and turns over all war criminals for trial," Na replied simply. "That's impossible, and you know it." "The Vorthak will never agree to those terms." Na sat down and opened her briefcase. Inside were documents, photographs, and data files. "Chancellor, have you seen Professor Seo Minjung's report?" "What report?" Na placed a thick folder on the desk. "Professor Seo is a human historian specializing in galactic conflicts. She's been studying Vorthak activities for the past century. Would you like to know what she found?" Veltar looked at the folder nervously. "What kind of activities?" "Genocide, systematic murder of entire species, slavery, torture, and not just recent crimes, Chancellor. The Vorthak Empire has been committing atrocities for centuries, and the Galactic Council has been helping them cover it up. That's a serious accusation." Na opened the folder and spread photographs across the desk. They showed mass graves, destroyed cities, and species that no longer existed. The Cathani people, extinct. The Vorthak killed every one of them 50 years ago because they refused to mine radioactive materials. The Council's report called it an unfortunate industrial accident. She placed another set of photos on the desk. The Morthak species, also extinct. The Vorthak destroyed their homeworld to test a new weapon. The Council classified it as a natural disaster. Veltar stared at the images. He had been Chancellor for 30 years, and he remembered both incidents. The Council had indeed covered them up to maintain galactic stability. "How many?" he whispered. 17 species completely extinct, 43 others enslaved. Conservative estimates suggest the Vorthak Empire has murdered over 2 billion sentient beings.
"And every time the Council helped them hide the truth." Na leaned forward.
"So no, Chancellor, we will not negotiate. We will not compromise. We will not allow this evil to continue just because stopping it is inconvenient." Veltar felt sick. He had known the Vorthak were violent, but he had never imagined the scope of their crimes. "What do you want from us?" "Stay out of our way. When this war is over, there will be trials. Justice will be served, and any species that aided the Vorthak Empire will be held accountable." After Na left, Veltar called an emergency session of the Council's inner circle. The most powerful species in the galaxy gathered in the secure meeting room deep in the station's core. "The situation is getting out of control," Veltar announced. "The humans refuse all attempts at mediation. They're demanding the complete destruction of the Vorthak Empire." Councillor Thexani of the Zilani spoke up. "Perhaps we should consider military intervention. The humans are still a small species. A combined fleet could force them to negotiate." General Wexmore of the Draknari Alliance nodded. "My people have been watching these human ships. They're advanced, but they're not invincible. A coordinated attack could crush them." "And what happens then?" asked Trade Minister Hexlor of the Helion Consortium. "The humans have proven they don't surrender. You'd have to commit genocide to stop them. Are we prepared for that?" The room fell silent. The idea of destroying an entire species to protect the Vorthak Empire seemed extreme, even for the Council. There's another problem, added Intelligence Chief Yordak of the Kefri Collective. Our spy networks report that human agents have infiltrated our governments. They know our military capabilities, our weak points, our secrets. If we attack them, they might retaliate against our homeworlds. Marshal Bei Jongmin led the human liberation of the slave world Velkar Prime. The planet had been under Vorthak control for over a century. 3 different species had been enslaved there, working in the mines and factories that powered the Vorthak war machine. The liberation didn't go as planned. The Vorthak garrison fought harder than expected, and they used the slave workers as human shields. Marshal Bei had to choose between accepting heavy casualties among his forces or risking the lives of the people he was trying to save. He chose to accept the casualties. Human soldiers died protecting alien slaves they had never met. When the battle was over and the slaves were free, they couldn't understand why humans had sacrificed their own lives for strangers. "Why did you come here?" asked Elder Trixon of the enslaved Mordri people. "What do humans gain from freeing us?" Marshal Bei was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "We gain the knowledge that we did what was right. That's enough." The liberation of Velkar Prime sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Videos of human soldiers dying to protect alien slaves spread across every communication network. Species that had remained neutral began to question their position. The Torvan Republic was the first to break. Representative Krixnall announced that his people would formally recognize the human coalition and offer military support. The Torvan had been conquered by the Vorthak decades earlier and forced to accept humiliating peace terms. Now they saw a chance for revenge. "The Torvan people remember what it's like to be victims of Vorthak aggression," Krixnall declared in the Galactic Council. "We will not stand by while others suffer as we did." The Delvian Republic followed the next day. Then the Sectari. Then a dozen smaller species that had been oppressed or threatened by the Vorthak Empire. The human coalition was growing, but not everyone was pleased with these developments. The major powers were losing control of the galaxy's political balance. Councillor Thexani met privately with several other leaders to discuss the crisis. "The humans are destabilizing everything," she said. "If they win, it could lead to chaos throughout the galaxy." "The Vorthak Empire provided stability," agreed General Wexmore. "They were predictable. We knew how to manage them. And now we have humans who can't be managed," added Minister Hexlor. "They don't want territory or trade deals. They want justice." "How do you negotiate with that?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Trade Minister Hexlor had been secretly communicating with human intelligence agents for weeks. He thought he was gathering information for the consortium, but in reality the humans were feeding him carefully selected data. "I have a proposal," Hexlor said to the secret meeting. "The Helian Consortium has significant influence in this sector. What if we offered the humans a deal they couldn't refuse? Territory, trade rights, technology transfer. Surely they have a price." The other leaders agreed to let him try. It seemed better than military intervention. Hexlor arranged a private meeting with Ambassador Na on a neutral trading station. He brought his best negotiators and prepared his most attractive offer. "Ambassador," he began, "the Helian Consortium recognizes that humans have legitimate grievances against the Vorthak Empire. We're prepared to offer substantial compensation for your losses." Na listened politely as he outlined the offer. Territory in 3 star systems. Exclusive trading rights in the galactic core. Advanced technology worth trillions of credits. It was more than most species earned in centuries. When he finished, Na was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Minister, let me tell you a story about my grandfather." Hexlor looked confused but nodded. "During the Second World War on Earth, my grandfather fought against the Japanese Empire. Near the end of the war, Japan offered to negotiate. They would give up some territory, pay some reparations, but their leadership would remain in power." "Do you know what my grandfather said?" "No, what did he say?" "He said that you don't negotiate with evil. You defeat it completely or it grows back stronger." The war continued until Japan surrendered unconditionally. Na stood up to leave. "The Vorthak Empire has committed genocide, Minister. They've enslaved entire species. They've murdered billions of innocent beings. There is no price that would make us ignore those crimes." Commander Jang Taehyun led a deep strike team into the heart of Vorthak space. Their mission was to infiltrate the capital world and plant listening devices in the government complex. It was incredibly dangerous, but the information they could gather would be invaluable. The team of 12 humans had been training for this mission for years. They spoke perfect Vorthak. They understood the culture, and they had false identities that would pass any inspection. They were the best of the best. The mission went perfectly until they were leaving the planet. A routine security check at the spaceport revealed their true identities. Instead of trying to escape quietly, Commander Zhang made a different choice.